Maya Torres wiped down the counter for the third time that hour. The diner was empty except for one old man in the corner booth who had been nursing the same cup of coffee since midnight. She glanced at the clock on the wall. 3:15 in the morning. Her shift would end in 2 hours, and then she could finally go to the library. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. They had been making that sound for weeks now. Maya had learned to ignore it, just like she had learned to ignore many things in her 19 years of life. The smell of old grease, the way her feet ached after standing for 8 hours, the constant worry about money that sat in the back of her mind like a heavy stone. She pulled out her phone and opened her notes app. In the quiet moments between customers, she would write down musical patterns she had noticed. Today she had been thinking about a pop song she heard on the radio during the dinner rush. There was something about the chord progression that reminded her of 3 other hit songs from the past month. She typed quickly, her fingers moving across the screen with practiced ease. "More coffee, honey," the old man called out. Maya tucked her phone away and grabbed the pot. She walked over with a smile that she had perfected over 2 years of working at this diner. It was friendly but not too friendly. Polite but not inviting conversation. She had learned that some customers wanted to talk, and others just wanted to be left alone with their thoughts. "Thanks," the man said as she poured. He looked tired. Maya wondered what kept him up at night. Everyone had their reasons for being awake at 3 in the morning. She returned to her spot behind the counter. Through the window, she could see the empty streets of San Francisco, the city that never truly slept, though it certainly tried in these early hours. Somewhere out there were people in warm beds in homes that belonged to them. Maya tried not to think about it too much. The group home where she lived was not the worst place she had been. She had her own bed, even if she had to share the room with 3 other girls. She had a locker where she could keep her laptop and headphones safe. She had food, even if it was usually the same rotation of cheap meals. She had survived worse. Maya had no memory of her parents. She had been found outside a fire station when she was 3 years old, wrapped in a thin blanket with no note, no explanation. Just a little girl with dark curly hair and brown eyes that were too serious for such a young face. The state had taken her in, and she had bounced from home to home ever since. Some families had been kind, others had not. Maya learned early that the only person she could truly rely on was herself. She learned to be quiet, to take up as little space as possible, to never ask for too much. She learned to bury her feelings deep where they could not hurt her. But she also learned something else. She learned that she was different in a way that had nothing to do with being an orphan. She saw patterns where others saw chaos. She understood connections that others missed. And nowhere was this more clear than with music. The piano had been her first teacher. At 7 years old, living in a group home on the outskirts of the city, she had discovered an old upright piano in the common room. Most of the kids ignored it. The thing was beaten up with several keys that stuck and a sound that was slightly out of tune. But to Maya it was magic. She taught herself to play by ear. She would hear a song on television or the radio, and then she would sit at the piano and figure out how to recreate it. No one had taught her about notes or scales or theory. She just understood it somehow, the way some people understand how to swim the first time they jump in water. By the time she was 10, she could play anything she heard. But more than that, she began to understand the mathematics behind the music. She saw how songs were built, how certain patterns of notes created certain emotions. She could predict what note would come next in a melody just by understanding the logic of what had come before. The other kids thought she was weird. The staff at the group home thought she was gifted. But gifted did not pay for music lessons. Gifted did not open doors when you had no family, no connections, no money. Gifted just meant you were different, and different was often just another word for alone. Maya learned to keep her gift private. She stopped playing piano where others could hear. Instead, she saved every dollar she could from odd jobs and birthday money that came from the state. It took her 3 years to save enough for a used laptop, another 2 years for decent headphones. These 2 items were her most precious possessions, worth more to her than anything else in the world. With these tools, she taught herself music theory through free online courses. She learned about composition, about the science of sound, about how the human brain processes melody and rhythm. She devoured every piece of information she could find. Late at night, when the other girls in her room were asleep, she would put on her headphones and analyze songs, breaking them down into their component parts like a scientist studying cells under a microscope. The bell above the diner door chimed. A young couple stumbled in, laughing and holding hands. They were dressed nicely, probably coming home from a night out. Maya took their order for pancakes and bacon and tried not to notice how easy their happiness seemed. She had never had that. The closest she came to a relationship was a boy named Marcus at the group home when she was 16. They had kissed twice behind the building before he got placed with a foster family in another city. She never heard from him again. After that, Maya decided that love was another luxury she could not afford to want. As she cooked the pancakes on the griddle, her mind drifted back to music. It always did. Music was the one constant in her chaotic life. It was the one thing that made sense when everything else was falling apart. And lately, she had noticed something strange. For the past 6 months, she had been tracking the top songs on the charts as part of a project she was working on. She wanted to understand what made a hit song successful. At first, she thought it was just good marketing or celebrity status. But then she started to see the pattern. There was a mathematical formula hidden in the most successful songs. It was not obvious at first, but once Maya started looking for it, she could not unsee it. Certain songs that came from the same record label, Meridian Records, all shared specific characteristics. The tempo, the chord progressions, the structure, even the way the vocals were mixed. It was too consistent to be coincidence. Someone at Meridian Records had figured out a formula for creating hit songs, and they were using it over and over again. Every single song that followed this formula had gone platinum within weeks of release. It was like they had cracked some secret code of what made people want to listen to a song on repeat. Maya had spent months analyzing this pattern. She had filled dozens of documents on her laptop with notes, charts, and musical breakdowns. She had taught herself basic programming to create visualizations of the data, and the more she studied it, the more certain she became that she was right. But she had also discovered something else. Something that she was not sure anyone at Meridian Records knew. The formula had a flaw, a critical weakness that would cause it to stop working. Maya could see it in the data, in the way listener engagement was starting to drop off after the initial spike. People were getting tired of the formula without even realizing it. The human brain was starting to recognize the pattern and reject it. She estimated that within 6 months, maybe less, songs using this formula would stop being successful. The golden goose would die, and whoever was relying on it would be left with nothing. The couple finished their pancakes and left a decent tip. Maya pocketed the money and added it to her mental tally of savings. She had $467 saved up. It was not much, but it was something. In 2 weeks, she would turn 20 and age out of the foster system. After that, she would be on her own. Truly on her own. The group home could not keep her once she turned 20. She would need to find her own place to live, pay her own rent, figure out how to survive without the small safety net the state provided. She had been trying not to think about it, but the deadline was approaching fast. She had applied to 3 community colleges hoping for scholarships. She had the grades for it. Despite everything, despite moving from school to school, despite having no stable home, Maya had maintained a near-perfect grade point average. She had done it because education felt like the only ladder out of the hole she had been born into. But scholarships required essays. They required letters of recommendation from teachers who barely remembered her because she had switched schools so many times. They required proof of extracurricular activities, which was hard when you were working 30 hours a week just to have spending money. Most of all, they required hope, and hope was expensive. Maya had started an essay for one scholarship application. The prompt asked her to write about her passion and how she would use her education to pursue it. She had written about music, about patterns, about her discovery of the formula hidden in hit songs, but she had never finished it. What was the point? Even if she got the scholarship, she would still need money for housing, for food, for books. And she only had $467. The sky outside began to lighten. Dawn was coming. Soon the morning shift would arrive and Maya could finally leave. Her feet hurt and she smelled like grease and coffee. But in a few hours, she could go to the library. The public library was her sanctuary. It opened at 9 on Saturdays and Maya would be there right when the doors opened. She had a favorite spot on the 3rd floor, near the windows where she could work on her laptop undisturbed. The library had free Wi-Fi, free heating in the winter, free air conditioning in the summer, and most importantly, No one who knew she was an orphan about to age out of the system. At the library, she was just another student. Just another young person working on a project. No one knew she was homeless in 2 weeks. No one knew she sometimes went to the library bathroom to wash her hair, because the group home only had cold water in the mornings. No one knew that the library was often the only place she felt truly safe. Her shift ended at 5:30. The morning waitress, a woman named Gloria who had worked at the diner for 15 years, arrived and took over. Maya collected her things from her locker in the back and stepped out into the cool morning air. The walk back to the group home took 20 minutes. She could have taken the bus, but she preferred to save the money. Besides, she liked the morning streets when they were quiet like this. It gave her time to think. As she walked, she made a decision. She would finish that scholarship essay. She would write about the musical formula she had discovered. She would explain her theory about why it would fail and how it could be fixed. Even if she never got the scholarship, at least she would have completed something. At least she would have proof of her discovery. Maya did not know it yet, but this decision would change everything. In trying to write one essay, she would create something much bigger. Something that would catch the attention of people she had never imagined meeting. Something that would pull her out of obscurity and thrust her into a world she had only ever observed from the outside. But all of that was still to come. For now, she was just a tired 19-year-old walking home in the early morning light, thinking about musical patterns and wondering how she would survive the next month. She reached the group home and quietly let herself in. The building was starting to wake up. She could hear someone in the kitchen making breakfast. The smell of toast drifted through the hallway. Maya went to her room, where 2 of her roommates were still asleep and one was getting dressed for work. She lay down on her bed, still in her diner uniform, too tired to change. Her alarm was set for 8. That would give her just enough time to shower and get to the library. She closed her eyes and let sleep take her, her mind still humming with melodies and mathematical formulas even as she drifted off. In her dreams, she played a piano that was always perfectly in tune. She played songs that no one had ever heard before, songs that followed her own formulas, her own patterns. In her dreams, people listened and understood. In her dreams, she was not alone. But dreams only last until morning. Maya sat at her usual spot in the library, her laptop open in front of her. 3 empty coffee cups sat beside her, evidence of the hours she had been working. Her eyes burned from staring at the screen. But she could not stop now. She was so close to finishing. The essay had grown into something much larger than she had planned. What started as a simple scholarship application had become a full analysis of the musical formula she had discovered. She had charts showing the pattern. She had audio examples demonstrating the similarities. She had mathematical breakdowns of the chord progressions and rhythmic structures. And most importantly, she had her prediction about the formula's failure. It was more than an essay now. It was proof. It was her life's work condensed into a 20-page document with embedded audio files and visual aids. Maya looked at it and felt something she had not felt in a long time. Pride, but pride did not pay rent. Pride did not solve the problem of where she would sleep in 12 days when she aged out of the system. Pride was just another feeling that would disappear when reality set in. She saved the document and closed her laptop. Outside the library windows, the sun was setting.
She had been here for 8 hours.
Her shift at the diner started in 2 hours, which gave her just enough time to go back to the group home, change into her uniform, and eat something. As she packed up her things, a thought occurred to her. The essay was good. Really good. Maybe good enough that someone in the music industry would want to see it. Maybe she could send it to music blogs or industry magazines. Maybe someone would hire her as a consultant or analyst. It was a long shot, but what did she have to lose? Maya pulled her laptop back out and opened a new browser tab. She searched for music industry contacts, blogs, magazines, anyone who might be interested in her discovery. But as she scrolled through the results, her hope began to fade. Every submission required industry connections or agent representation. Every contact form led to a black hole where unsolicited emails went to die. She was nobody. She had no credentials, no degree, no reputation. Who would listen to a 19-year-old orphan with a theory about hit songs? She might as well be shouting into the void. Her phone buzzed, a text from the group home coordinator, reminding her about the mandatory meeting next week to discuss her transition out of the system. Maya deleted the message without responding. She knew what the meeting would say. She was on her own now. Good luck. She stood up to leave, slinging her backpack over her shoulder. As she walked toward the library exit, she passed a group of college students working on a project together. They were laughing about something on one of their phones. Maya caught a glimpse of the screen. They were watching a video that had gone viral, some comedian doing a sketch about modern dating. And that was when the idea hit her. She stopped walking. Her heart started beating faster. Why was she trying to reach the music industry through traditional channels? This was the age of social media. This was the age where a single video could reach millions of people overnight. She did not need permission from gatekeepers. She did not need industry connections. She just needed to make something that people would watch. Maya turned around and went back to her spot. She opened her laptop again and stared at her essay. Could she turn this into a video? Could she explain her discovery in a way that would capture people's attention? Could she make it go viral? She had never made a video before. She had no equipment except her laptop and phone. She had no experience with editing or filming. But she had her voice and her knowledge, and sometimes that was enough. Maya opened a video editing app she had downloaded months ago but never used. She started planning. She would need to record herself explaining the formula. She would need to overlay her charts and audio examples. She would need to make it engaging enough that people would watch it all the way through. And most importantly, she would need to make sure the right people saw it. The right people. That meant Victor Chen. Victor Chen was the tech billionaire who had bought Meridian Records 5 years ago. He was famous for using data and technology to disrupt traditional industries. He had made his fortune in software before deciding that the music industry needed innovation. Everyone in the industry knew his name. And if Maya's theory was correct, his entire business model was built on the formula she had discovered. If she tagged him in the video, if she called out Meridian Records directly, maybe he would see it. Maybe his team would see it. Maybe it would cause enough of a stir that someone would pay attention. It was risky. If she was wrong, she would look like a fool. If she was right but could not prove it, she might face legal trouble. But if she was right and people believed her, then maybe, just maybe, something would change. Maya looked at the time. She had missed her window to go back and change before her shift. She would have to go to the diner in her regular clothes and change there. She texted her manager with an excuse about the bus being late and got back to work. For the next 3 hours, she recorded take after take on her phone. She set it up on a stack of books to get the right angle. She practiced her explanation until it was clear and concise. She was not trying to be a performer. She was just trying to be herself, to share what she had learned in a way that made sense. She explained how she had noticed the pattern in Meridian Records' hit songs. She played examples side by side, showing the identical chord progressions and tempo choices. She showed her charts demonstrating the mathematical formula. And then she explained the flaw. The human brain is incredibly good at recognizing patterns, she said to the camera. At first, this formula works because it hits all the right pleasure centers in our minds. But over time, we start to recognize that we have heard this before. Not the same song, but the same structure, the same feeling. And once our brains recognize the pattern, we get tired of it. We start craving something different. She showed data on listener engagement, how it was already starting to drop for the most recent Meridian hits. She showed her projections for the next 6 months. And then she showed her solution. The formula needs to evolve, she explained. It needs variation built into it. It needs to surprise us occasionally, to break its own rules in ways that feel intentional. I have worked out a modified version that maintains the core appeal, while adding enough unpredictability to keep listeners engaged. She did not share all the details of her modified formula. That would be foolish. But she shared enough to prove that she understood what she was talking about. By the time she finished editing, it was 10:30 at night. She had missed her entire shift at the diner. Her phone had 6 missed calls from her manager. Maya knew she would probably be fired, but she could not bring herself to care. She was too focused on what she was about to do. She uploaded the video to every platform she could think of: YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. She wrote a caption that was simple and direct. I cracked the code behind Meridian Records' hit formula, and it's about to stop working. Here's why. She tagged Victor Chen. She tagged Meridian Records. She tagged music industry publications and famous musicians. She tagged anyone who might amplify the message, and then she hit post. For several minutes, nothing happened. Maya sat there staring at her phone, watching the view count. 3 views, 5 views, 10 views. They were probably all her own refreshes. She closed her laptop and gathered her things. The library would close in 30 minutes. She needed to face the consequences of missing her shift. She needed to figure out what to do about money now that she would probably not have a job. Maya walked back to the group home in the dark. The streets were busier now, full of people enjoying their Friday night. She felt disconnected from them, like she was watching life happen from behind a glass wall. When she got back to her room, her roommates were getting ready to go out. They invited her to come along, but Maya declined. She was too tired, too anxious about what she had just done. She lay on her bed and pulled out her phone to check the video one more time. 200 views. That was more than she expected, but still nothing close to viral. Maybe this had been a stupid idea. Maybe she should delete it before anyone important saw it and laughed at her. But she did not delete it. Instead, she fell asleep with her phone in her hand, exhausted from the emotional roller coaster of the day. She woke up to her phone buzzing nonstop. At first, she thought it was her alarm, but then she realized it was notifications. Hundreds of notifications. Her phone was overheating from the constant alerts. Maya sat up, her heart pounding. She opened her phone and pulled up her video. The view count made her breath catch. 50,000 views. In 8 hours, her video had been watched 50,000 times. The comments were flooding in. Some people were calling her a genius. Others were skeptical. Music industry insiders were debating her theory. Someone had created a thread breaking down her analysis point by point. A popular music journalist had shared the video with the caption, "This kid might be onto something." But the most common comment was some variation of "someone, tag Victor Chen, he needs to see this." Maya scrolled through her notifications, her hands shaking. People were sharing the video across platforms. It was spreading faster than she could track. Music students were analyzing her work. Musicians were weighing in with their own observations. The video was becoming a phenomenon, and then she saw it. A notification that made her stomach drop. Meridian Records had responded. She clicked on it with trembling fingers. It was not a comment. It was a direct message. From Meridian Records' official legal account. "You are hereby ordered to remove all content related to Meridian Records and cease making false and defamatory statements about our business practices. Failure to comply within 24 hours will result in legal action for defamation and theft of trade secrets." Maya felt like she could not breathe. Trade secrets? She had not stolen anything. She had just observed patterns in publicly available music. How could that be theft? But she knew the answer. It did not matter if she had done anything wrong. Meridian Records had lawyers. They had money. They had power. She had nothing. If they decided to sue her, she would have no way to defend herself. Her phone buzzed again. Another message, this one from her diner manager, officially firing her for missing her shift without calling. Maya wanted to laugh. In the span of 12 hours, she had lost her job and potentially opened herself up to a lawsuit from a billion-dollar company. This was not how viral success was supposed to feel. She got out of bed and went to the bathroom. She looked at herself in the mirror. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep. Her hair was a mess. She looked exactly like what she was. A scared kid who had gotten in way over her head. But then she thought about the video. About the 50,000 people who had watched it. About the music students and industry professionals who were taking her seriously. About the fact that for the first time in her life, people were paying attention to what she had to say. Maya made a decision. She would not delete the video. She would respond to Meridian Records' legal threat with the truth. She had done nothing wrong. If they wanted to sue her, let them. She had nothing to lose anyway. She went back to her room and typed out a response. "I have not stolen any trade secrets. My analysis is based entirely on publicly available music. I'm exercising my right to free speech by sharing my observations. I will not be removing the video." She sent it before she could second-guess herself. The day passed in a blur. The view count kept climbing. 100,000. 200,000. By evening, it had passed 500,000. Maya was too anxious to eat. She stayed in her room, watching the video spread across the internet like wildfire. Music publications were starting to write articles about her theory. Some defended her. Others claimed she was wrong. But everyone was talking about it. The algorithm that Meridian Records was supposedly using had become a hot topic of debate in the music industry. And through it all, Victor Chen remained silent. He had not responded to the tags. He had not made any public statement. It was like he was pretending the whole thing was not happening. Maya tried to distract herself by looking for new jobs, but her heart was not in it. What was the point? In 10 days, she would be homeless. She had $467 to her name and no prospects. A viral video was not going to change that. She fell asleep that night feeling more alone than ever. She had accomplished something remarkable, and yet it meant nothing for her actual life. She was still an orphan about to age out of the system. She was still broke and jobless. She was still invisible in all the ways that mattered. The phone call came at 2 in the morning. Maya was in that state between sleep and waking when her phone started ringing. She answered it without thinking, her voice thick with sleep. "Hello? Is this Maya Torres?" The voice was male, calm, with a slight accent she could not place. "Yes, who is this?" "My name is Victor Chen. I believe you have been trying to get my attention." Maya sat up so fast she nearly dropped the phone. Her mind raced, trying to make sense of what was happening. Victor Chen was calling her at 2 in the morning. This had to be a dream. "I watched your video," he continued. "Watched it several times, actually. You have a very interesting theory." Maya found her voice. "It's not a theory. It's a fact. Your formula is failing." There was a pause. Then Victor laughed, a sound that was both amused and impressed. "You have confidence. I like that. Tell me, Maya Torres, what do you want?" What did she want? Everything, nothing, a place to sleep. A future that was not terrifying. For someone to believe in her. "I want to prove I'm right," she said finally. "Then let me make you an offer," Victor said. "Come to my office tomorrow at noon. I am going to give you a chance to prove your theory. If you succeed, I will give you a full scholarship to any university you choose and a job at Meridian Records. If you fail, you sign a non-disclosure agreement and walk away quietly. Do we have a deal?" Maya's mind was spinning. This had to be a trap. There had to be a catch. But what choice did she have? "What do I have to do to prove it?" she asked. "Simple," Victor said. "You have 30 days to create a song using your modified formula. If your song outperforms our current top hit, you win. If it does not, I win." 30 days to create a hit song with no resources, no connections, no experience in actual music production. It was impossible. "Deal," Maya said. Victor laughed again. "I will send a car for you at 11 tomorrow. Get some sleep, Maya Torres. You are going to need it." The line went dead. Maya sat in the darkness, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might burst out of her chest. What had she just agreed to? What had she gotten herself into? But beneath the fear, there was something else. A tiny spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, her life was about to change. The black car arrived at the group home exactly at 11 o'clock. Maya had been waiting outside for 20 minutes, too nervous to stay inside. She had changed clothes 3 times before settling on the nicest thing she owned. Black jeans and a button-up shirt she had gotten from a donation bin. She knew she did not look like someone who belonged in a billionaire's office, but it was the best she could do. The driver said nothing as Maya climbed into the back seat. The car was nicer than any vehicle she had ever been in. The leather seats were soft and the air conditioning was perfectly cool. Maya sat very still, afraid to touch anything. The drive to Meridian Records headquarters took 30 minutes. The building was in the financial district, a gleaming tower of glass and steel that reflected the San Francisco sky. Maya had walked past it before but never imagined she would go inside. The driver pulled up to the front entrance. "Someone will meet you in the lobby," he said. They were the first words he had spoken to her. Maya stepped out of the car and looked up at the building. It was enormous, imposing, designed to make people feel small. She took a deep breath and walked through the revolving doors. The lobby was all marble and modern art. A woman in an expensive suit was waiting by the reception desk. She smiled when she saw Maya, but it was not a warm smile. It was the kind of smile people gave when they were being polite but did not really mean it. "Maya Torres?" the woman asked. "Yes. I am Emma Blackwood, head of A&R at Meridian Records. Mr. Chen has asked me to oversee your project." Emma's handshake was firm to the point of being painful. She was probably in her late 30s with perfectly styled blonde hair and makeup that looked professional and expensive. Everything about her screamed success and power. Next to her, Maya felt like a child playing dress-up. "Follow me," Emma said, already turning toward the elevators. They rode up in silence. Emma checked her phone the entire time, her fingers moving rapidly across the screen. Maya watched the floor numbers climb. 10th floor, 20th floor, 30th floor. They finally stopped at the 35th floor. The elevator doors opened to reveal a sleek office space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Emma led Maya down a hallway lined with gold and platinum records. Each one represented a hit song, millions of dollars in revenue, someone's dream come true. Maya tried not to stare. They stopped at a conference room. Through the glass walls, Maya could see a long table surrounded by expensive chairs. At the head of the table sat a man in his 50s with graying hair and sharp eyes. Victor Chen. Come in, he said, gesturing to a chair. Maya sat down, her heart racing. Up close, Victor looked tired but alert, like someone who survived on 4 hours of sleep and several cups of coffee. He studied her with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. So you are the orphan genius who cracked my code, he said. It was not a question. I would not call it genius, Maya said carefully. I just noticed patterns. Patterns that no one else noticed in 5 years, Victor said. That sounds like genius to me. Emma sat down across from Maya, her expression unreadable. Let me be clear about the terms of this arrangement, she said, pulling out a folder of documents. You have 30 days to produce a complete professionally recorded song using your modified formula. The song will be released on all major streaming platforms under an anonymous artist name. If it performs better than our current #1 hit within the 30-day period, you win. If not, you lose. Define performs better, Maya said. More streams, more playlist ads, higher chart position, Emma listed. We will use a combined metric that accounts for all factors. And to be clear, you will be competing against Electric Dreams by Luna Sky, which has been #1 for 6 weeks and has over 200 million streams. 200 million streams. Maya felt her stomach drop. She was supposed to beat that in 30 days with no budget, no team, no experience. That seems impossible, she said. Then you should not have made the deal, Emma said coolly. Victor held up a hand. Maya, I am giving you access to our studio. You can use our equipment, but you will be working alone. No producers, no established artists, no major marketing budget. If your formula truly works, the song should succeed on its own merit. How am I supposed to record and produce a professional song by myself? Maya asked. You are a genius, remember? Emma said with that fake smile. Figure it out. Victor slid a badge across the table. This will get you into the building and the studio. Studio C is available from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. every day. During business hours, it is booked for other projects. Maya picked up the badge. Her photo was already on it. They had planned this before she even arrived. What about musicians? Singers? That is your problem to solve, Emma said. You have your laptop and access to a studio. Most artists would kill for that opportunity. Maya understood what was happening. They were setting her up to fail. Victor wanted to prove that her theory meant nothing without industry resources. Emma clearly saw Maya as a threat and wanted her gone. The whole arrangement was designed to be impossible. But Maya had learned a long time ago that impossible just meant difficult. And difficult was something she knew how to handle. When do I start? She asked. Tonight, Victor said. The clock starts now. You have until November 10th at midnight. Good luck, Maya. Emma showed Maya to Studio C. It was smaller than the other studios they passed, but still filled with equipment that Maya had only seen in online videos. There was a mixing board with hundreds of buttons and sliders, microphones that probably cost more than a year of her rent, monitors that looked like they belonged in a spaceship. The manual is in the drawer, Emma said, pointing to a desk in the corner. Try not to break anything. Then she left and Maya was alone. For a long moment, Maya just stood there overwhelmed. She had never used professional recording equipment before. She barely knew what half of these things did. How was she supposed to create a hit song in this room? She sat down at the desk and pulled out the manual. It was 300 pages long. Maya felt tears prick at her eyes, but she forced them back. She had not cried in 5 years, and she was not going to start now. She opened her laptop and looked at her modified formula. She knew the theory. She knew what needed to happen. She just had to figure out how to make it real. The first week was brutal. Maya worked her overnight shift at the studio, trying to teach herself the equipment through trial and error. The manual helped, but there was no substitute for hands-on experience. She made countless mistakes. She accidentally deleted recordings. She mixed tracks so badly they were unlistenable. She spent hours on things that should have taken minutes. During the day, she slept at the library or the group home. She had 4 days left before she aged out. 4 days to find a place to live while also trying to create a hit song. The group home coordinator had found her a spot in a shelter, but Maya knew what shelters were like. She had been in them before. They were not safe, especially for a young woman alone. She was running on 3 hours of sleep a night, eating cheap food from convenience stores, and working herself to exhaustion. But slowly, painfully, the song started to take shape. She had decided to create something instrumental first, to establish the foundation of the modified formula. She used digital instruments from the studio's software, layering sounds until they created something that felt both familiar and fresh. The melody followed the pattern she had identified, but with variations that her formula predicted would keep listeners engaged. It was working. She could feel it working. The song had that quality that made you want to listen again, but it did not feel repetitive or predictable. It felt alive, but it was not finished. It needed vocals. It needed a human element that would connect with listeners emotionally, and Maya could not sing. She had tried recording herself, but her voice was untrained and weak. The song needed someone with real talent. She was sitting in the studio late one night listening to her incomplete track on repeat, when she heard footsteps in the hallway. It was past midnight. No one should be here. Maya opened the studio door and looked out. A young man was walking down the hall carrying a guitar case. He looked startled to see her. "Sorry," he said. "I did not know anyone was using this studio. I have it booked from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., Maya said. "Right, sorry. I'm just a session musician. I left my guitar here earlier and needed to grab it before tomorrow." He paused, noticing something. "Wait, is that your track playing?" Maya realized her song was still audible through the open door. "Yeah." The man walked closer, his head tilted like he was really listening. "Can I hear it properly?" Maya hesitated. But what did she have to lose? She opened the door wider and turned up the volume. The man stood very still as the track played. When it finished, he looked at her with something like awe in his eyes. "That is incredible," he said. "Who produced this?" "I did." "Bullshit. This sounds like professional work." "I have been teaching myself," Maya said defensively. The man shook his head in amazement. "This is the best thing I have heard in months." "Who is singing on it?" "Nobody yet. I need a vocalist, but I do not have the money to hire one." "I will do it," Maya blinked. "What?" "I will sing on your track for free. That song deserves to be finished." "Why would you do that?" The man extended his hand. "I am Jordan Lee. I have been a session musician for 5 years, working on tracks I do not care about for artists I do not respect. That song you created? That is art. That is what music should be. I would be honored to be part of it." Maya shook his hand, not quite believing this was happening. "I am Maya." "Nice to meet you, Maya. When do we start?" They worked through the night. Jordan had a voice that was perfect for the song, emotional but controlled. He understood what Maya was trying to achieve, and brought his own artistry to the performance. They recorded take after take, adjusting and perfecting until it felt right. By the time the sun came up, the vocal track was done. The song was starting to feel complete. "You are incredibly talented," Jordan said as they listened to the rough mix. "Where did you study?" "I did not. I am self-taught." Jordan looked at her with new respect. "That is even more impressive. Hey, I know some other musicians who might want to help. Real players, not just session work. People who care about making good music." "I do not have money to pay them," Maya said. "They will not care, trust me. Can I share this with a few people?" Maya thought about Emma's rules, but Victor had only said she could not use established artists or professional producers. He had not said anything about struggling musicians helping for free. "Yes," she said. Over the next 2 weeks, Jordan brought in 5 other musicians. A drummer who worked as a barista during the day. A bassist who was between bands. A pianist who taught lessons to children. A violinist who busked in subway stations. And a sound engineer who was trying to build a portfolio. None of them were famous. None of them were making real money from music. But all of them were talented, and all of them believed in the song Maya was creating. They worked during the late-night hours when the studio was supposed to be empty. They layered instruments, adjusted arrangements, polished the mix until it shined. Maya directed everything. using her understanding of the formula to guide their decisions. But she also listened to their ideas, incorporating their creativity into the final product. The song became a collaboration, a team effort of people who had been overlooked by the industry. They called it Echoes of Tomorrow, and it was beautiful. But Maya was running out of time in more ways than one. She had aged out of the system. Her spot at the group home was gone. She had been sleeping in the studio, sneaking in early and leaving late, hoping no one would notice. She showered in the gym down the street using a membership that Jordan had given her access to. She was surviving, but barely, and Emma knew. Maya could tell by the way Emma looked at her when they passed in the hallways. Emma knew Maya was homeless. Emma knew she was struggling, and Emma was waiting for her to fail. On the third week, things got worse. Maya arrived at the studio to find that her access had been restricted. She could only use the equipment for 4 hours a night now instead of 12. When she asked why, the building security said it was Emma's orders. "She says you were using too many resources," the guard explained apologetically. 4 hours was not enough. Maya still had mixing to do, final adjustments to make, mastering to complete. Emma was sabotaging her deliberately. Jordan and the other musicians rallied. The sound engineer, a woman named Priya, offered to let Maya use her home setup to finish the work. It was not as sophisticated as the Meridian studio, but it was enough. They worked in Priya's tiny apartment, squeezed around her equipment, pushing through exhaustion and frustration. With 1 week left, they were almost done. The song was 90% complete. It just needed final mastering and someone to create the cover art. Maya was so close she could taste it. That was when Emma made her final move. Maya arrived at work to find an email from Meridian's legal department. They were claiming that because she had used their studio and equipment, the song belonged to Meridian Records. They owned it, and they were considering not releasing it at all. Maya felt like she had been punched in the stomach. She had worked so hard. She had sacrificed everything. And now they were going to take it from her. But then she remembered something Victor had said in their first meeting. If her formula truly worked, the song should succeed on its own merit. He had not specified that it had to be released through Meridian. He had just said it had to perform better than their current hit. Maya called Jordan. "We are going to release it ourselves. How?" he asked. "Independent distribution. We upload it to streaming platforms directly. No label, no promotion, just the song." "That is going to be almost impossible," Jordan said. "Without marketing, without playlist placement, without radio play? Maya, independent songs rarely break through." "Then we will make it break through," Maya said. "Get everyone together. We have 7 days to do the impossible." They finished the song in Priya's apartment. They created cover art using free design software. They wrote a description that explained nothing and everything. Music for people who are tired of being told what to like. They uploaded Echoes of Tomorrow to Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and every other platform they could find. They used an independent distributor that took a percentage but required no upfront payment. The song went live on November 9th at midnight, 24 hours before Maya's deadline. 24 hours to prove she was right. They had no marketing budget, no publicity team, no industry connections. All they had was social media and hope. Maya, Jordan, and the other musicians shared the song everywhere they could. They posted on their personal accounts. They tagged music influencers. They reached out to playlist curators. They did everything they could think of to get people to listen. For the first few hours, nothing happened. The song had maybe 50 streams, probably all from them checking it repeatedly. But then something shifted. A music student at Berkeley shared it with a comment. "This is what I have been trying to explain in class about mathematical composition." That post got shared by a music theory professor, then by a composer, then by a music journalist. The song started spreading through music communities. Not mainstream audiences yet, but people who really cared about music. People who could hear what Maya had done, how she had created something that was both formulaic and innovative. By the morning, they had 5,000 streams. By afternoon, 20,000. The numbers kept climbing, but Maya knew it was not enough. Electric Dreams had 200 million streams. Even if Echoes of Tomorrow went viral, there was no way it could compete in just 24 hours. And then the sabotage happened. At 5 p.m. on November 10th, 7 hours before Maya's deadline, someone leaked fabricated evidence online claiming that Maya had stolen the melody from an obscure European artist. The post included side-by-side comparisons that seemed damning. It looked like Maya was a fraud. The song's momentum stopped immediately. People started sharing the plagiarism accusations instead of the song. Music outlets picked up the story. Maya was being called a thief, a scammer, a liar. She knew who was behind it: Emma. This was Emma's final move to ensure Maya failed. Jordan and the others tried to defend her online, but their voices were drowned out. The narrative had turned against her. Everything she had worked for was crumbling in real time. Maya sat in Priya's apartment, watching her dream die on a laptop screen. She had 6 hours left before midnight. 6 hours before she lost everything. And there was nothing she could do about it. She put her head in her hands and finally let herself cry. Maya could not stop the tears once they started. 5 years of holding everything inside came pouring out in Priya's small apartment. Jordan sat next to her, not saying anything, just being there. The other musicians gathered around, their faces showing a mix of anger and helplessness. "We know you did not steal anything," Jordan said quietly. "Everyone who worked on this knows the truth." "That does not matter," Maya said, wiping her eyes. "No one cares about the truth. They care about the story, and the story is that I am a fraud." Priya was at her computer scrolling through the accusations. "This is so obviously fake," she said, her voice sharp with fury. "The timestamps do not even make sense. The supposed original song was only uploaded 2 days ago. Anyone with basic detective skills could figure this out. But who is going to look that closely?" Maya asked. "People see what they want to see. They wanted to believe in the underdog story when I was winning. Now they want to believe in the scandal." The clock on the wall showed 6:15. Less than 6 hours until midnight. Less than 6 hours until she officially lost the challenge. Maya pulled out her phone and looked at the streaming numbers one more time. 38,000 streams. It had stopped growing. Electric Dreams had gained another 1,000,000 streams just today. There was no comparison. She had lost. "I should have known better," Maya said. "People like me do not win. We survive, but we do not win." "Do not say that," Jordan said firmly. "You created something amazing. That song is going to outlive this scandal. People will figure out the truth." But Maya was not listening. She was thinking about what came next. She had no job, no home, no prospects. She had spent every dollar she had on food and transportation over the past month. She had sacrificed everything for a shot that never should have been offered in the first place. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Turn on your computer. Check Twitter, now." Maya frowned and opened her laptop. She pulled up Twitter and saw that she was trending. Her heart sank. This was probably more people piling on, more accusations, more proof that she had been foolish to hope. But then she started reading the tweets. "I am a musicologist at Juilliard, and I have analyzed the plagiarism claims against Maya Torres. They are completely fabricated. Here's my breakdown." The tweet included a detailed thread explaining why the accusations were false. Another tweet from a digital forensics expert. The original song that Maya supposedly stole from was uploaded after her video went viral. The metadata proves it. Someone is trying to frame her. And another from a copyright lawyer. "I am offering my services pro bono to Maya Torres. These false accusations are defamation, and whoever is behind them will face consequences." Tweet after tweet from musicians, academics, and industry professionals defending her. They were using hashtags like "I stand with Maya" and "Justice for Maya." The tide was turning. "Oh my God," Priya said, her eyes wide. "Look at this." She turned her screen around. A famous producer had just posted, "I have been in this industry for 20 years and what is being done to Maya Torres is disgusting. Her song is innovative and original. Someone powerful is threatened by her talent and they are trying to silence her. Do not let them win." The post had been shared thousands of times in minutes. Other influential people in the music industry were adding their voices. A movement was building right there in real time, defending Maya against the fabricated accusations. "Your song," Jordan said, checking his phone. "Maya, look at the numbers." Maya pulled up the streaming dashboard. 50,000 streams. 60,000. 70,000. The numbers were climbing faster than before. People were listening to Echoes of Tomorrow, specifically because they wanted to judge for themselves whether it was stolen. And once they listened, they were hooked. The comments on YouTube were filled with people saying it was unlike anything they had heard before. Music students were breaking down the composition, explaining how it worked. Musicians were sharing their own covers and interpretations. Something strange was happening. The scandal had turned into something bigger. People were not just defending Maya, they were studying her work. They were learning from it. The mathematical formula she had discovered was being discussed in music theory forums and composition classes around the world. "Look at this," Priya said, pulling up another screen. "Music producers are making videos analyzing your technique. They are calling it the Torres method." The Torres method. Maya felt surreal hearing those words. Her name attached to something real, something that people were taking seriously. But even with all this attention, she checked the streaming numbers again. 150,000 streams? It was amazing growth, but it was still nothing compared to Electric Dreams. She needed millions of streams to win, and she had less than 5 hours. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Maya almost did not answer, but something made her pick up. "Maya Torres?" The voice was professional, female, yes? "This is Catherine Wu from Rolling Stone. I am writing a story about what happened to you today, about the false accusations and the industry's response."
Can I ask you a few questions?
Rolling Stone, one of the biggest music publications in the world, wanted to interview her. Maya agreed, and for the next 20 minutes she told her story. Not just about the plagiarism accusations, but about everything. About being an orphan, about discovering the formula, about the challenge Victor Chen had given her, about the 30 days of sleeping in a studio, and working with musicians who believed in something bigger than commercial success. "That is an incredible story," Catherine said when Maya finished. "I am going to publish this tonight. People need to know who you really are." After the call ended, Maya felt drained. She looked at the clock. 9:30, 2.5 hours left. She pulled up the streaming numbers again. 200,000 streams. "It is not going to be enough," she said quietly. Jordan did not argue. They all knew the math. Even if the song went fully viral in the next 2 hours, it could not possibly catch up to a song that had been #1 for 6 weeks. "Maybe that is okay," Jordan said. "Maybe you already won in the ways that matter. You proved your formula works. You created something beautiful. You inspired thousands of people. Is not that worth something?" It was worth something. Maya knew that. But she also knew what losing meant. She had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. She had to walk away quietly. She would go back to being nobody. Except now everyone would know that she had failed. The Rolling Stone article went live at 10:15. Maya read it on her phone, stunned by how Catherine had written about her. The article was not just about the scandal. It was about class and opportunity in the music industry. It was about how talent got overlooked when it came from the wrong background. It was about a system that claimed to value innovation, but punished anyone who challenged the status quo. The article went viral immediately. News outlets picked it up. Music forums discussed it. Social media exploded with reactions. And Echoes of Tomorrow started streaming faster than ever. 300,000 streams. 400,000. 500,000. "It is still not enough," Maya said, but her voice was less certain now. At 11 o'clock, 1 hour before her deadline, something unexpected happened. Famous musicians started sharing the song. Artists with millions of followers posted about Echoes of Tomorrow, calling it the future of music. Some shared it because they genuinely loved it. Others shared it because they were angry about how Maya had been treated. But they shared it. The song jumped to number 15 on the viral charts. Then number 10. Then number 5. "Oh my God," Priya said. "Maya, do you see this?" Maya looked at the streaming dashboard. The numbers were climbing so fast the screen could barely keep up. 600,000 streams. 700,000. 800,000. "It is trending on TikTok," Jordan said, showing his phone. "People are using it in videos. It is everywhere." At 11:30, Echoes of Tomorrow hit #1 on the viral charts. It had passed Electric Dreams in real-time streaming velocity. It was the fastest-growing song on the platform. But viral charts were not the same as total streams. Electric Dreams still had 200 million total streams compared to Echoes of Tomorrow's 900,000. The gap was too large to close in 30 minutes. Maya watched the clock tick down. 11:40. 11:50. Each minute feeling like an hour. The streaming numbers kept climbing, but it was not enough. It could never be enough. At 11:55, 5 minutes before midnight, Victor Chen posted on Twitter for the first time in months. I have been watching something extraordinary happen tonight. A young woman with no resources, no connections, and no industry support created a song that has united musicians around the world. She did not just crack a formula. She reminded us why we make music in the first place. Maya Torres, you have won. Maya stared at the tweet, not understanding. She had not won. The numbers were clear. Her phone rang. Victor Chen, hello? Maya answered, her voice shaking. The terms of our agreement were that your song had to perform better than Electric Dream, Victor said. I never specified the time frame. Your song is outperforming Electric Dreams right now in every metric that matters. Engagement, shares, cultural impact. You have won. But the total streams are irrelevant. A hit song is not measured by streams alone. It is measured by whether it matters to people. Your song matters. You proved your theory. Congratulations, Maya. The line went dead. Maya sat there, phone in her hand, unable to process what had just happened. Did he just say you won? Jordan asked. Maya nodded slowly. I think so. The room erupted. Jordan hugged her. Priya screamed with joy. The other musicians were laughing and crying and talking over each other. Maya felt like she was floating, like none of this could possibly be real. But it was real. She had done it. Against impossible odds, with nothing but her mind and the help of people who believed in her, she had won. The celebration lasted until 2 a.m. They ordered pizza and stayed up talking, planning what came next. Jordan suggested they form a collective, a group of independent musicians who could support each other. Priya wanted to document everything, to create a case study about how they had done it. Everyone had ideas, everyone had energy. Everyone felt like they were part of something important. But eventually they all went home. Maya stayed in Priya's apartment, lying on the couch where she had been sleeping for the past week, staring at the ceiling. She had won. She would get the scholarship. She would get the job at Meridian Records. Her life was about to change in ways she could not even imagine. But something felt wrong. Something she could not quite name. She pulled up the Rolling Stone article on her phone and read it again. The part about how the music industry overlooked talent from poor backgrounds. The part about how hard it was to break through without money or connections. The part about her sleeping in a studio because she had nowhere else to go. Maya thought about all the musicians who had helped her. Jordan, who worked as a session musician for songs he did not care about. Priya, who engineered for pennies while trying to build a portfolio. The drummer, the bassist, the pianist, the violinist. All of them talented. All of them struggling. All of them invisible to an industry that claimed to value merit, but really valued money and connections. She thought about the kids still in the group home, the ones who had talents but no opportunities. She thought about the music students working 3 jobs while trying to get degrees. She thought about every person who had ever been told they were not good enough simply because they came from nothing. And Maya realized what had been bothering her. Winning the scholarship and the job felt like accepting the same system that had tried to destroy her. It felt like climbing into the tower and pulling up the ladder behind her. At 7 a.m, Maya sent Victor Chen an email. It was short and simple. Thank you for the opportunity, but I have to decline your offer. I have a different idea. I would like to talk to you about it. She hit send before she could second-guess herself. Then she finally fell asleep, exhausted but certain that she had made the right choice. When she woke up 6 hours later, there was a response from Victor waiting in her inbox. Come to my office tomorrow at noon. Let's talk, Maya smiled. This was not over. In fact, it was just beginning. Maya stood outside the Meridian Records building for the second time, but everything felt different now. The first time she had felt small and out of place. This time she felt like she belonged, not because the building had changed, but because she had. She walked through the lobby with her head high. The receptionist smiled at her, a real smile this time. Mr. Chen is expecting you in the top-floor conference room. The elevator ride up felt longer than before. Maya used the time to review her plan. She had spent all of yesterday and this morning working on it with Jordan and the others. They had created a detailed proposal, complete with budget projections and implementation strategies. It was ambitious, maybe too ambitious, but Maya believed in it completely. The elevator opened to the top floor. This was not the same conference room as before. This was Victor's private office, a massive space with views of the entire city. He was standing by the window when she entered, his back to her. Maya Torres, he said without turning around. The girl who turned down a full scholarship and a 6-figure job. You have my attention. I have a better idea, Maya said. Victor turned to face her. He was smiling, but it was a curious smile, like he was genuinely interested in what she had to say. I am listening. Maya pulled out her laptop and set it on his desk. I want to start a foundation. The Hidden Pattern Foundation. Its purpose would be to provide music education, equipment, and opportunities to foster youth and underprivileged artists. She opened her presentation and walked Victor through it. The foundation would offer free music lessons, access to recording equipment, mentorship from industry professionals, and scholarships for music programs. It would be specifically targeted at young people who had talent, but no resources, kids like Maya had been. The music industry has a diversity problem, Maya explained. Not just racial or gender diversity, but economic diversity. Poor kids do not get the same chances. They do not have money for instruments or lessons. They do not have connections to help them break into the industry. We lose so much potential talent because of this. The Hidden Pattern Foundation would change that. Victor listened without interrupting. When Maya finished, he sat down at his desk and studied her. That is a beautiful idea. What does it have to do with me? I want you to fund it, Maya said. I made money from Echoes of Tomorrow. With the streaming revenue and the licensing deals that are coming in, I will have about $200,000. I want to use that money to start the foundation. But that is not enough to make a real difference. I need more, and I am asking you to match my contribution. You want me to give you $200,000 for a charity? No, Maya said firmly. I want you to invest $200,000 in the future of music. Think about what I did in 30 days with almost no resources. Think about how many other kids out there have similar talent but no way to develop it. This is not charity. This is smart business. The foundation will discover and develop the next generation of artists. Victor leaned back in his chair. And what do I get in return? Nothing, Maya said. That is the point. You release the formula to the public domain. You let anyone use it, study it, build on it. And you fund a foundation that will create more innovation, more diversity, more genuine artistry in music. You do it because it is the right thing to do. The room was silent for a long moment. Victor's expression was unreadable. Maya felt her heart pounding but kept her face calm. She had learned something important over the past month. Powerful people respected confidence even when you had nothing to back it up. Finally, Victor laughed. You have nerve, I will give you that. You think you can walk into my office and tell me what to do with my money? Yes, Maya said simply. Victor stood up and walked back to the window. What if I say no? Then I will build the foundation anyway. It will take longer. It will be harder, but I will do it. Another long silence. Then Victor turned around and he was smiling. Maya, there is something I need to tell you. Something I have not told anyone, not even my own staff. Maya waited. The algorithm I created, the one you discovered, it was never meant to be the end game. It was bait. Maya felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. What? Victor walked back to his desk and sat down. 3 years ago, I realized something. The music industry had become too focused on data, on algorithms, on manufacturing hits, including me. I had built Meridian Records into a successful company, but we were not making art anymore. We were making products, and it was killing what I loved about music. He pulled up something on his computer and turned the screen toward Maya. It was a folder full of documents. I designed the algorithm to be intentionally flawed. I built in the weakness you discovered. Then I waited. Waited for what? For someone to find it. For someone smart enough to crack the code and brave enough to speak up. I have been looking for that person for 3 years. I have been testing people, seeing who would notice, who would care. Maya felt like she could not breathe. You mean this was all a test? Yes and no. The challenge was real. If you had failed to create a good song, I would have enforced our agreement. But I was hoping you would succeed. I was hoping you would prove that human creativity, real artistry, was more powerful than any algorithm. Emma, Maya said suddenly. The sabotage. You knew about that? Victor nodded. Emma Blackwood has built her entire career on data-driven success. She sees music as a product to be optimized. When you came along with your theory, you threatened everything she believed in. I knew she would try to stop you. And you let her? I wanted to see how you would handle it. I wanted to know if you would give up or keep fighting. Success in the music industry requires more than talent, Maya. It requires resilience. It requires the ability to face obstacles and find creative solutions. You proved you have that. Maya sank into the chair across from Victor's desk. Her mind was spinning. So this whole thing was manipulated? No, Victor said firmly. I created the circumstances, but you made the choices. I gave you a challenge, but you exceeded it. I expected you to use the studio and create a decent song. Instead, you built a community. You inspired a movement. You changed the conversation about how music gets made and who gets opportunities. That was all you. But if you were testing people for 3 years, why did you threaten to sue me when I posted the video? Because most people give up when faced with legal threats. They back down, they get scared. But you did not. You stood your ground. That told me everything I needed to know about your character. Maya did not know how to feel. Part of her was angry at being manipulated. Part of her was impressed by the complexity of what Victor had done. Mostly, she just felt exhausted. Why are you telling me this now? She asked. Because you earned the truth, and because I want to accept your proposal. Maya looked up sharply. What? The Hidden Pattern Foundation. I will match your contribution. $200,000 to start. But I want to offer more than that. I want to give you $2 million, $2 million. The number was so large Maya could not even process it. But there is a condition, Victor continued. You have to run it. You have to be the foundation's director. You will go to whatever university you choose. I will still pay for that. But while you are studying, you will also be building the foundation. After you graduate, you will run it full-time. I do not know how to run an organization, Maya said. You did not know how to produce a hit song either. You figured it out. Besides, I will provide advisors, business managers, legal support. You will have help. But the vision has to be yours. The passion has to be yours. Maya thought about what this meant. No more sleeping in studios. No more worrying about food or rent. She could go to college. She could build something that would help kids like her. She could change lives. But she also thought about the manipulation, about how Victor had orchestrated so much of what had happened. Why did you really do all this? She asked. What do you get out of it? Victor was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I was an orphan too. Did you know that? Maya shook her head. I grew up in foster care in Taiwan. I came to America with nothing and built everything through technology. But I never forgot where I came from. The difference between you and me is that you still care about the people who are where you used to be. I got successful and forgot. I got rich and stopped caring about anything except making more money. He stood up and walked to a shelf where photos were displayed. He picked one up and showed it to Maya. It was a young Asian boy, maybe 10 years old, standing in front of a small apartment building. That was me. That boy had dreams, had passion, had a desire to change the world. Somewhere along the way, I lost that. When I look at you, I see who I used to be, and I want to help you keep that part of yourself alive. Maya took the photo and looked at it. She saw the hope in the young boy's eyes. She understood what Victor was saying. You are not just funding a foundation, Maya said slowly. You are trying to redeem yourself. Maybe, Victor admitted. Is that so wrong? Maya thought about it. Part of her wanted to be angry. Part of her wanted to reject everything because it came from manipulation. But another part of her, the practical part that had learned to survive, knew that intentions mattered less than outcomes. The first 3 I can agree to immediately, Victor said. The fourth is up to Emma. As if on cue, there was a knock on the door. Victor called out, Come in. Emma Blackwood entered. She looked different from the last time Maya had seen her. Less polished, less confident. She looked like someone who had been caught doing something wrong. Maya, she said. Her voice was stiff. I owe you an apology. What I did was unprofessional and wrong. I let my fear of becoming irrelevant drive me to sabotage your work. I leaked the false plagiarism claims. I restricted your studio access. I tried to make you fail because I saw you as a threat to my position. She took a breath. But watching what you accomplished, despite everything I did, made me realize something. You represent the future I was trying to prevent. A future where success is not about who you know or how much money you have, but about actual talent and innovation. I was wrong to fight against that. I am sorry. Maya studied Emma's face. The apology seemed genuine, but Maya had learned not to trust appearances. Will you make that apology public? She asked. Emma nodded. Yes, I will post it on all platforms today. Then I accept your apology, Maya said. She did not add that she would never forget what Emma had done. Some things did not need to be said out loud. Emma left and Victor returned his attention to Maya. So, do we have a deal? Maya thought about everything that had happened. A month ago, she was a nobody, sleeping in group homes and working at a diner. Now she was sitting in a billionaire's office, negotiating the terms of a foundation that could change thousands of lives. It felt impossible. But Maya had learned that impossible just meant difficult. We have a deal, she said. But I want everything in writing. Legally binding contracts. I am not taking your word on a handshake, Victor laughed. Smart. I will have my lawyers draw up the paperwork. It will be ready by the end of the week. They shook hands and Maya left the office feeling like she was walking on air. She rode the elevator down, walked through the lobby and stepped out onto the San Francisco street. The city looked different now. Or maybe she was different. Maybe both. She pulled out her phone and called Jordan. It is done, she said when he answered. We are really doing this. Jordan whooped on the other end of the line. I knew you could do it. When do we start? As soon as the paperwork is done. I want you to help me run it. You and Priya and the others. This has to be a team effort. Are you sure? Jordan asked. This is your moment, Maya. You earned this. No, Maya said firmly. We earned this, all of us, and we are going to build something amazing together. They talked for a few more minutes, making plans and dreaming big. When Maya hung up, she realized she was standing in front of the public library, her sanctuary for so many months. She went inside, climbed to the third floor and sat at her usual spot by the window. She opened her laptop and started writing. Not an essay this time, but a mission statement for the Hidden Pattern Foundation. She wrote about creating opportunities for kids who had been overlooked. She wrote about the belief that talent existed everywhere, but opportunity did not. She wrote about building a future where success in music was determined by ability and passion, not by wealth and connections. As she typed, people walked past her. Students studying, homeless people staying warm, families checking out books. The library held everyone, regardless of who they were or where they came from. That was what she wanted the foundation to be. A place that held everyone, that gave everyone a chance. 2 years passed faster than Maya could have imagined. She enrolled at Berkeley to study music theory and business management. She lived in a small apartment near campus, nothing fancy, but it was hers. She had furniture, a real bed, a kitchen where she could cook meals, simple things that meant everything to someone who had never had them before. While she studied, she built the foundation. The first 6 months were the hardest. There were legal requirements she had never heard of, financial systems she did not understand, staffing decisions that kept her up at night. But Victor had kept his word. He provided advisors who guided her without controlling her. He connected her with people who could help. And most importantly, he trusted her to make mistakes and learn from them. Jordan became the director of artist development. Priya headed the recording program. The drummer, whose name was Marcus, ran the instrument donation program. Each of the musicians who had helped create Echoes of Tomorrow found their place in the foundation. They started small, 10 kids in their first program, all from foster care or low-income families. They provided instruments, lessons, studio time, and mentorship. Maya worked with each student personally, teaching them not just about music, but about the mathematics behind it, about patterns and innovation. By the end of the first year, 3 of those 10 students had been accepted into music programs at major universities with full scholarships. 2 had been signed to record deals. All 10 had grown as artists and as people. The second year, they expanded to 50 students, then 100. The foundation opened a physical space in Oakland, a former warehouse converted into studios, practice rooms, and classrooms. They hired professional musicians as teachers. They brought in industry professionals for workshops. They created a community, and something unexpected happened. The foundation became known not just for helping underprivileged youth, but for producing exceptional talent. Record labels started paying attention. Universities started recruiting foundation students. The music industry began to change its practices, realizing that they had been missing out on talented artists simply because those artists came from the wrong backgrounds. Echoes of Tomorrow continued to be successful too. It had been streamed over 50 million times. Maya had made more money from it than she ever thought possible, and she put every dollar back into the foundation. She also kept her job at the diner. 1 shift per week, Friday nights. Her old manager had hired her back after she became successful, and Maya refused to quit completely. She needed the reminder of where she came from. She needed to stay connected to the reality that most people faced. On a Friday evening 2 years after that meeting in Victor's office, Maya was wiping down the counter at the diner when a teenage girl came in. She was wearing headphones and carrying a beat-up backpack. Something about her reminded Maya of herself. The girl ordered coffee and sat in a corner booth. She pulled out a notebook and started writing, completely absorbed in whatever she was working on. Maya brought her the coffee and noticed that the notebook was filled with musical notations and mathematical equations. "Are you a musician?" Maya asked. The girl looked up, startled. "Kind of. I am teaching myself music theory. I cannot afford lessons, so I use free online stuff. What is your name?" "Destiny." "I am Maya Torres." The girl's eyes went wide. "Wait, like the Maya Torres? From the Hidden Pattern Foundation?" Maya smiled. "That is me. Oh my God. Your story, what you did, it is like my inspiration. I am in foster care too. I have been trying to save money to apply to your foundation's program, but I am not 18 yet, and I do not have a guardian who can sign the forms." Maya sat down across from her. "How old are you?" 16. "Tell me about your music." For the next hour, Maya listened as Destiny talked about her compositions, her theories, her dreams. The girl was brilliant. She had the same kind of pattern recognition that Maya had, the same obsessive dedication to understanding how music worked. When Destiny finally had to leave to catch her bus back to the group home, Maya stopped her. "Come to the foundation tomorrow. Ask for me at the front desk. We are going to figure out a way to get you into the program, guardian signature or not." Destiny looked like she might cry. "Really? Really? People helped me when I had nothing. Now it is my turn to help you." The girl left and Maya went back to work, but her mind was already planning. Destiny would be accepted into the program. Maya would personally mentor her, and maybe, just maybe, Destiny would become the next person to change the music industry. As Maya cleaned tables and refilled coffee, she thought about the path that had brought her here. The years of struggle, of being invisible, of feeling like she did not matter. The moment she decided to take a risk and post that video, the 30 days of fighting against impossible odds. The choice to reject the easy path and build something bigger. None of it had been easy, but all of it had been worth it. When her shift ended, Maya walked home through the San Francisco streets. She passed the group home where she used to live. The building looked the same, but she was completely different. She passed the library where she had spent countless hours. She passed the Meridian Records building where her life had changed. Back in her apartment, she opened her laptop and checked the foundation's application list. 300 new applications this month. 300 young people who needed a chance. Maya could not help all of them, but she could help some, and those some would go on to help others. That was how change happened. Not all at once, but person by person, opportunity by opportunity. Her phone buzzed. A text from Victor. "Board meeting next week. Come prepared to discuss the expansion to Los Angeles. Also, congratulations on the 2-year anniversary. You have exceeded every expectation." Maya smiled and typed back,